Welcome back to another NCUT movie review. Today we have Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. The director for this movie was James Mangold. If you're unfamiliar with his work, he's done movies such as Night and Day with Cameron Diaz and Tom Cruise. He's done movies such as Logan, which is arguably the greatest Marvel movie ever made, apart from maybe Endgame, and Ford v Ferrari. So he's got a pretty good list behind him coming into this movie. Now, this movie is called Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny, and I think the destiny of this movie was to get me the fuck out of there probably halfway through. I could fill in majority of all their dialogue and their character arcs that they were trying to go through pretty quickly. It wasn't that hard to fill in. We are smart enough, we are capable enough to understand these real innate points that these people were making throughout the movie. It wasn't that hard to get who Helen Shaw was. It wasn't hard to get who these people were. It was pretty easy. But I digress. I'll go into the movie a little bit just so you guys can understand how stupid it was, because I'll tell you what I didn't like about it, and I'll tell you what I did like about it. So let's start with the bad stuff. Now, the bad stuff I hated was how slow and drawn out the scenes are. They over-explain the plots, they over-explain the character arcs, which we already know. We can fill that in. We're not dumb. It's going to be easy. So they need to skip that stuff pretty quickly, get their portal guns out or whatever, and shoot it like Rick and Morty does, right? The amount of time jumps that they had in this movie was irritating to me. Now, I'll give you an example. This will be kind of a spoiler. It was, for instance, time jumps such as Mads Mikkelsen, who is the main antagonist in this movie, who is a Nazi scientist / archaeologist. He had the ability to teleport. Tell me how, in the sci-fi shit, this guy had the ability to teleport. An example of the movie is, this is a spoiler, they were out in the ocean, just the two boats, Mads Mikkelsen's boat and Indiana Jones's boat. They have a dialogue of where to find the other half of the Dial of Destiny. Stuff ensues, fights ensue, dynamite gets blown up. So then the main barrage gets half blown up, but by the time it does, Indiana Jones escapes with his friends, and Mads Mikkelsen and his enemies are chilling on that half blown up boat, and out of nowhere, not even 5 minutes later, they have already hit shore. Now, you need to know that they were in the middle of the ocean. No one knew they were there. It was just two boats. And the fact that they were able to teleport from a half-broken barrage that was in the middle of the ocean, didn't mention that already, and then teleport to the shore and then find out that they can steal one of Indiana Jones's friends, or Helen Shaw's friend, which is like a kid, is ridiculous. They shouldn't be able to teleport, okay? That time jump and that time dilation, I hate it. Now, if he had the dial already, it would have been fine, but he didn't. We didn't see that shit till the end. So that was one thing that pissed me off. And I know it could be little. I understand it could be, it's about the story and who cares if it time jumps a little bit. I do. I pick it out. If I'm picking this stuff out, then I notice it and it annoys me. It doesn't make any sense. Now, another thing I need to address is that they did do a good job of addressing his age. Now, his age, he didn't move like it. I know he's 70 plus and he looked phenomenal. Looked like he worked out for this movie. He was almost repping a six-pack at 70 plus or whatever. I actually don't know how old he is, but he was almost repping a six-pack at 70 plus. And this guy was moving like he was 25. This guy was sliding under rocks. He was moving like he was either on a Joe Rogan supplement or he just had a couple of bags of Coke in the back with Scarface or something. He was next level athletic for a 70-year-old. I thought that was impressive. Now, I noticed it, once again, little things, nothing massive. The only thing that I really think you need to worry about when watching this movie is that there is a lot of parts in there that don't need to be explained. So it will feel drawn out and it will feel like oversaturated with the dialogue. This movie is trying to piggyback off the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull because that was the last one created. Now, that was back in 2008. So that's 15 years Harrison Ford hasn't played this character for, which is amazing, by the way. The fact that he looks so good in it and the CGI in it was next level. Because I just came from The Flash, and The Flash was so bad in CGI, it was laughable. Really it was. If you haven't seen it, please wait for it to come out on DVD because it was laughable how bad it was. This, as a comparison, completely different. This was literally like watching Rick compared to Morty. That's the comparison. Like super smart, super good, dumb idiot, nobody. Okay. Another thing that I had a problem with was the fact that Helen Shaw in this movie was getting shot at. Now, that's a given. During a chase scene, you get shot at because the enemies are trying to get you. Problem, she slept with one of the guys who was a prince, or he was a mobster, or the leader of the mobsters, or whatever he was. And he tells the people and smacks the gun up and says, don't shoot, don't shoot. Basically, I still love her, pretty much. Then, with no less than 2 seconds later, they go back to shooting her. What kind of writing is that? Anyone? Anyone want to tell me? Write it down in the comments. That doesn't make any sense. You can't tell the character to not kill that individual person because of their plot armor and then immediately go shoot them. That doesn't make any sense. Either don't shoot them or just aim at Indy the entire time, because that's not what happened. Anyway, the good things I will say about this movie was that it gave me a lot of nostalgia. And I think that's like that with everyone. People who watch the Indiana Jones movies, they bring them back to their childhood, or if you watch them when you're an adult, they kind of bring you back a little bit into the past and remind you of what the good movies used to be like. Now, I miss these classic movies, but I think that we're so used to these quick dopamine hits that it didn't hit the same. I feel like that we need to bring them back, but they need to be a little bit more nuanced, and they definitely need to improve on their dialogue and how quick that they can run through stories and character arcs, because I didn't really care about any of the characters apart from Indiana. That's all I cared about was Mr. Johns. That's who I cared about. But I guess that they have to try build something towards the audience, which makes sense, but we could fill it in. Like I was saying at the start, we could fill it in. It's very easy. Other bits they could explain a little bit more, but I think that's with most stories now, that I feel like they over-explain things that we already know and under-explain things I want to know, right? And go into sort of the depths of it. But that's really subjective, that stuff. It doesn't matter. If you're going to go watch this movie, the only thing I think you need to care about this movie review is that don't expect this to be a huge climactic chase like all the other ones are, where they have really good climactic endings and they have really good scenes and like temple run type of scenes. This is more based in the past and based in like German infantry and really ugly times. So a quick synopsis of the movie is based in Germany and them stealing, the Nazis that is, stealing all the artifacts. And they were initially after a sword that drew Jesus' blood. And then they found out that the dial might be real. And so then in the future, as we all know, the Nazis lost. And then they found out that Mads Mikkelsen, who continued in America instead of in Germany, worked for NASA. So he was like the Warner von Braun pretty much of NASA, sent them to the moon, had all this notoriety and resource from American government. And then Indiana was just a teacher. So then now they fast forward into the future. They have then met again, and Mads Mikkelsen's objective is to grab this dial so he can go back in time, because the dial was made by Archimedes, who was an inventor back in the day in 212 BC, and he invented this time dilation machine where you can actually find rifts and moments in time and certain locations where you can go back to wherever you want. You just got to have the right mathematical equations and numbers to go back, and they stuff it up when they go back, and they go back to the war when the Greeks, I think it was the Greeks or the Romans, who were storming Italy. So where Archimedes dies, this is the war where he dies, but he also makes the invention. He makes this time dilation dial of destiny machine. So then they stuff up, and they sort of, it sort of goes to a nice conclusion where Harrison Ford has done everything in his life. He's getting towards the end of his career and towards the end of Indiana Jones, and now he wants to retire. And his perfect retirement is to stay there. That's what he wants to do. But that doesn't happen. Helen gets the strength of the Hulk, gives him a John Jones left-right uppercut goodnight, falls, drops absolutely sound asleep on the ground. She somehow carries him back to the future, and then he wakes up, and then his wife comes in, and they have a nice happy ending because they haven't been together for a while, which was unexplained, which I'd like to know more on, of why. I actually don't even know why. And yeah, that was how the movie ends. So that's the quick synopsis of it. Now, I would rate this movie probably a 5 or a 50%. I'm not sure how we're going to start rating it. I want to do a nice scale. I don't really know what scale we're going to go with, though. We'll figure that out later. But if you want to do percentages, I think that's a bit more accurate than the 1 to 10. I think we'll do percentages. I like that a lot better. So I want to rate this 50%. I'll rate 52 if you want to be accurate. Now, I think they could have done, obviously, I've mentioned before, a lot of things better, but I did enjoy the old classic movies. Now, I did like that aspect of it. But it's a classic Indiana. You'll be left satisfied. It's definitely an homage to everyone who has loved Indiana before. So you will enjoy it if you go and watch it. I just like to thank you guys for who's subbed and liked and commented on our stuff. And we're trying to hit a goal of 100 at the moment. It's not much, but we're going to start somewhere, right? So we'd love you guys to do that. We're also starting a cult. Now, it's not a bad cult. Don't think cult negative. This is a good one. We don't ask for your money. All we do is ask for like, sub, and comment, and it's all free. So just do that for us, please. We love you. Oh, by the way, before I end this, Geordie is not here still. It's still me. So you're going to have a couple of more episodes without my co-host. And hopefully you guys enjoy it. And anyway, we're out. So we love you. Peace. We out. And cut.